Ladies and gentlemen, it's lunchtime. Welcome to Rotary. We would ask that you stand for O Canada. I'd like to introduce our head table today. We have Mr. Steve Wallace, who is our program director. We have Dr. Brad Nelson, who will be suitably introduced in a moment. We have David Newberry, who will be doing the thanking of the speaker. We have John Thomas, who will be introducing the visiting Rotarians and guests. Jillian Carrigan, and our outbound exchange student, Anna.
It's a very short list today, although I'm very long-winded at times. But we have, as mentioned, Anna Legault, our outgoing Rotary Exchange student. Welcome. Stand up, so I'll give you a big round of applause. We have lots of time here. And joining us with Dr. Brad Nelson is an associate, is Alyssa Grace. Are you, there she is there. Welcome.
We'll now continue on with our program, and I would like to ask Janet Power to please come forward and introduce our guest speaker.
It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. Today we have Dr. Brad Nelson. He is a distinguished scientist and director from BC Cancer Agency at the Dealey Research Centre. He comes to us with a great background. So please listen carefully. Dr. Nelson is a native of Vancouver. He has received his Bachelor of Science at UBC and his PhD at the University of Calgary in Berkeley. He completed postdoctoral training and held faculty positions at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center and the University of Washington in Seattle. So how did he get to Victoria? Well, in July of 2003, he became the founding director of the BC Cancer Agency at the Dealey Research Centre in Victoria. His lab studies include the immune response to cancer, with an emphasis on ovarian, breast, and lymphoid cancers.
Well, thanks very much for that nice introduction, Anna. And thanks as well for the invitation to come speak today and join you for lunch. It's always a privilege to talk about the work we're doing at the Cancer Agency. Our research center is up on the 3rd floor. We opened in 2003. The research center was built due to donations from the community to the BC Cancer Foundation, and now we have 40 active researchers upstairs working on new treatments for cancer. You might not think it sounds like a great way to spend your afternoon, coming to a cancer clinic and having a tour, but everybody leaves really being blown away by what's going on right here in Victoria. So I'll just start by just reviewing what are the current treatments for cancer, so we have some context for the new treatments that we're trying to develop. And so I think people are familiar with most of these. When a patient's diagnosed with cancer, often surgery is one of the first treatments given. Just find a tumor, let's cut it out, try and get rid of as much of it as possible surgically. Depending on the type of cancer and the success of the surgery, that might be followed by radiation therapy, chemotherapy. These are treatments that are used to try and eliminate any cancer cells that got left behind by the surgeon. And for some cancers, such as prostate and breast cancer, we also have hormonal therapy. And then there's a whole new generation of what we generally call targeted therapies. These are antibodies and other small molecules that have been designed using the latest understanding of cancer cells and what makes them tick. So that's where most of the research in the last 10 years is bearing fruit. So this is what the cure for cancer looks like when you really break it down into statistics. It's not something that happens overnight with a single change, but rather it's steady progress on a number of fronts that gets us these gains. And you may or may not know, but BC has among the best cancer survival rates of any place in the world. One is, if you look at our logo, the Cancer Agency, it's Care Plus Research. We don't just deliver care to patients, but we try and embed research into our culture, into our day-to-day activities, so that we're not just giving today's best treatments, but we're constantly trying to learn from today how to treat better tomorrow. And the type of treatment that we're working on here in Victoria, and that I want to spend the rest of the time talking about, is an entirely new approach called immunotherapy. And this is the idea of helping the patient's immune system to recognize their tumor better and to actually start fighting their tumor on its own. T cells can also recognize cancer cells and attack them and try and eliminate them. And what we're trying to do with immunotherapy is to get that to happen more often in more patients and more effectively. It's really a team-based approach the immune system uses to fight viruses and to fight cancer. And the idea is to get that team, get enough players on the field and get them working well together and passing the ball around effectively. Some patients, like the one on the left, have very little in the way of an immune response underway. Patients like the one on the far right, we see a very strong immune response. So naturally, we want to understand these responses and learn how to intelligently enhance them. It's the patient's own T cells, so there's no issues with rejection. It's not like a transplant or anything. It's their own T cells. They've just been on a holiday in the lab. We've rejuvenated them. We've increased their numbers a millionfold and reintroduced them. There are a number of centers around the world, probably on the order of 15 centers where this type of therapy is now being rolled out into clinical trials. And the results have been very impressive for a number of cancers. And in fact, the FDA in the US has given this type of treatment a breakthrough designation, which is a way of fast-tracking it to make sure it gets rolled out as part of standard care as quickly as possible. So our goal here in BC is to create a provincial T-cell therapy program facility. So it really is a provincial program. We're going to be the T-cell factory here in Victoria, and the infusions and whatnot will take place in Vancouver. And we've got partners across Canada as well. In fact, I'm part of a program that's just started, federally funded Networks of Centers of Excellence, NCE. Just back to our list of the treatments for cancer that we started with. Coming soon to BC, immunotherapy. So watch for it, and I'll thank you again for the opportunity to talk about this.
In order to show our appreciation for your contribution to this meeting, the Rotary Club Victoria is pleased to present to you this certificate from Eyesight International. Through the efforts of Eyesight International, an individual is to receive an operation restoring sight. His name is Si Hun. He is a man aged 70 in India.
I couldn't think of a nicer gift than that, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge that today that our own Terry Jones has been elected for the 6th term of the Project Unity Committee. I'd like to ask now Jillian Carrigan to introduce our outbound student and also to make a pitch for our host family.
Okay, to steal the line from Janet, listen up. This is important. Youth exchange. And at this time, it is planned that she will stay with me for a week or two on her arrival in August. I already bought my flight ticket for August 20th, and I will arrive in Victoria on August 21st at 10:13 in the morning. We are her family for the next year, and she'll be depending on us. So I will ask you again to please consider hosting long or short trips. So Giovanna is our inbound student, and today I want to formally introduce you to our outbound student. So Anna, so she's on the other side. She's going away. Giovanna's coming to us.
My name is Anna Legault, and as Jillian said, I am really excited to be the outbound Rotary Youth Exchange student going to Italy. I am really proud to be an ambassador for Canada and for our Rotary Club and for our culture here
today, but we do have a director of recognition, so we'll cover that off. Steve Wallace.
Oh, I don't think you want to applaud 50 ticket. And of course, guests are exonerated. You never pay a fine. You get a free ride. And so does the head table or anyone who's actually sitting at my table. If you did not buy a 50-50 ticket, put $1 at the center of the table.